Because the school beauty said I bullied her, my brother beat me into the ICU. When I woke up, I was covered in tubes, both hands in casts, and 7 ribs were broken. The doctor said I would have died if they had brought me in 10 minutes later, but that day, I didn't even go to school. I was at the hospital with my grandmother who had terminal cancer. But my brother didn't believe it. The moment his white moonlight school beauty cried, he didn't care about me anymore. He and a group of his brothers beat me with baseball bats, until I was lying in a pool of blood. While he was beating me, he said, "Who told you to touch Serafina? She's so kind, how could you do that to her?" Later, when the truth came out, my brother knelt outside the ICU, crying like a dog, but it was too late. I would never forgive him. The first thing I felt upon regaining consciousness was excruciating pain. It felt like 1,000 needles were piercing my bone marrow simultaneously. I wanted to scream but couldn't make a sound. A tube was inserted into my throat, and every breath felt like it was tearing my lungs apart. The rhythmic sound of the respirator filled my ears, tick-tock, tick-tock, like the countdown of my life. In my blurry vision, the white ceiling spun. The smell of disinfectant invaded my nostrils, mixed with the bitterness of some kind of medicine, making me nauseous. I tried to move my fingers, but found that both hands were wrapped in thick plaster casts, unable to move. Even the simple act of making a fist became a luxury. "She's awake? She's awake." A nurse's surprised voice came, followed by a flurry of footsteps. White figures flickered before my eyes, like countless afterimages. A doctor rushed over, checked my vital signs, and breathed a sigh of relief. He took off his mask, revealing a tired-looking middle-aged man's face. "Her life is saved, but..." He paused, looking at me with a complex expression. I was too familiar with that look, the look you give to a pitiful person. "Young lady, your injuries are too severe. 7 ribs broken, 2 of which almost pierced your lungs. Comminuted fractures of both hands, shattered kneecap on your left leg, ruptured spleen. There isn't a single undamaged spot on your body." The doctor's voice grew softer and softer, until it was almost a sigh. 10 minutes later, and even a god couldn't have saved you. Who was so ruthless? They practically wanted you dead. I closed my eyes, tears sliding down my cheeks, the salty taste flowing into the corners of my mouth, not because of the pain, but because of the despair. The one who was so ruthless was my own brother, Caleb, my brother who had been doted on by the whole family since he was a child. Memories came flooding back like a tide. Every scene was so clear that it broke my heart. It was the evening 3 days ago, the setting sun turning the hospital corridor blood red. I had just returned home from the provincial first hospital, exhausted. My grandmother's condition had deteriorated, and the doctor said she might not make it through the month. The cancer cells had spread throughout her body, and even the last chemotherapy session had been abandoned. I had been at her bedside all day, listening to her fragmented instructions about her affairs. Her hands were so thin that they were just skin and bones, the veins protruding, like withered branches. "Nora." My grandmother's withered hand grasped mine, her strength so weak that I could barely feel it. "Take care of yourself in the future. Your brother's mind is elsewhere, you can't rely on him." As she said this, there were cloudy tears in the corners of her eyes. I knew what she was thinking. Caleb hadn't visited her in 3 months. "Grandma, don't say that." I choked back tears and nodded, squeezing her cold hand, trying to give her some warmth. "You'll get better," the doctor said, "as long as you rest well." My grandmother shook her head, a bitter smile pulling at the corners of her mouth. "Silly child, Grandma knows her own body. I'm just worried about you. You've been so sensible since you were little, always letting your brother have his way. But Nora, you can't be too weak. You have to fight for what you deserve, and protect what you need to protect." I didn't understand why she was suddenly saying this. I just kept nodding, my tears blurring my vision. It was already dark when I got home, the streetlights dim and yellow, stretching my shadow long. I pushed open the door wearily. The house was dark, pitch black. I assumed my parents were out socializing again. They were always busy making money, busy socializing, but never busy caring about the family. But when I flicked the switch and the living room light came on, I froze. The living room was full of people. My brother Caleb stood at the front, holding a baseball bat in his hand, his eyes cold and frightening. It was the one he liked the most in high school, with his name engraved on it. Behind him were his cronies, each holding a weapon. Baseball bats, steel pipes, and some even held bricks. The air was filled with a strange, murderous aura. I froze, my voice trembling slightly. Brother? You still have the nerve to call me brother? Caleb sneered, the light in his eyes unfamiliar to me. How could I, Caleb, have such a vicious sister? Vicious? Me? I was completely confused, my mind blank. What do you mean? What happened? What do you mean acting innocent? A blonde-haired boy next to him roared, spitting saliva on my face. Serafina told us everything. You ambushed her in the school bathroom and slapped her. Her face is swollen from you hitting her. You vicious woman. Serafina? The transfer student school beauty. The girl who was always fawning over Caleb? I was even more confused, my voice trembling with shock. I didn't even go to school today. I was at the hospital with Grandma all day. Enough, Caleb interrupted me, his voice deafening. Would someone as kind as Serafina lie? She was crying so sadly her face was swollen. He took a step closer, and I instinctively backed away. You're just jealous of her. Jealous that she's prettier than you. Jealous that she's more outstanding than you. Jealous that she gets everyone's affection. I really didn't. Before I could finish, the baseball bat came crashing down. The first blow landed on my shoulder. Excruciating pain made me scream, and I fell to the ground. My shoulder blade felt like it was shattered, the pain spreading throughout my body along my nerves. The floor was cold, and I lay there, more shocked than in pain. Brother, are you crazy? I looked at him in disbelief, my voice trembling. Are you really going to hit me? For an outsider? Caleb's eyes were bloodshot, like a wild beast that had lost its mind. Outsider? Serafina is more like family to me than you are. She's kind, gentle, and never gives anyone trouble. Unlike you with your gloomy face all day long, like a jinx. The second blow landed on my arm, and I heard the sound of bones breaking, crisp and shocking. The pain made me curl up, cold sweat instantly soaking my clothes. My right hand hung limply, unable to be raised. Brother Caleb, take it easy, don't really kill her. Someone advised, but their voice was more of an excited spectator. She deserves to die. Caleb roared like a madman, raising the baseball bat. Who told her to bully Serafina? Serafina is such a good girl. What did she ever do to deserve this? Just because I'm protecting her, you want to hurt her? The blows rained down like hail. Back, legs, arms. Every part of my body screamed. I curled up into a ball, protecting my head with my hands, the taste of blood spreading in my mouth. I didn't know if I had bitten my tongue, or if it was internal bleeding. I didn't. I really didn't. I argued intermittently, my voice growing weaker and weaker. I was at the hospital. There's surveillance. Grandma's dying. But no one listened. They only believed Serafina's tears. Someone shouted, "Hit her. This kind of vicious woman deserves a lesson." That's right, pretending to be noble usually, and then stabbing people in the back. Serves her right. Who told her to offend Goddess Serafina? Every word was like a knife, more hurtful than the blows. Caleb was tired from hitting me, panting heavily, and threw the baseball bat to the person next to him. You guys go too, teach this bitch a lesson. More blows fell. I couldn't feel the specific pain anymore. I just felt like my whole body was burning, and my consciousness began to blur. In a daze, I thought of when I was a child. At that time, Caleb had just started elementary school. Once, I was bullied by the boy next door, and he rushed over to protect me, saying in a childish voice, "No one is allowed to bully my sister." Where did that brother who protected me go? I don't know how long it had been, but I couldn't feel the pain anymore. The edge of darkness spread in my vision, and I heard my breathing becoming weaker and weaker. In a daze, I heard someone shouting, "Oh no, she's not moving. Damn, did we really beat her to death? Call an ambulance quickly." Darkness swallowed me. In the last moment before losing consciousness, I saw Caleb's face as pale as paper, with a trace of panic finally appearing in his eyes. But it was too late. Family members? Where are the family members? The anxious voice of a nurse came from outside the ICU, pulling me back a little from my stupor. I struggled to turn my eyes, seeing the figures in the hallway through the glass. My vision was blurry, but I still recognized them. Mom and Dad had arrived. Mom was sitting in a chair wiping away tears, but those tears seemed more like a performance for others. Dad was pacing back and forth with his hands behind his back, his face showing his usual impatience. Caleb was leaning against the wall, pale and silent. The nurse held a stack of forms, her voice with professional calm. This is the surgical consent form. It needs to be signed by a family member. The patient is seriously injured. We have already performed emergency surgery, but multiple surgeries will be needed afterward. How much will it cost? Dad interrupted her, his tone full of naked calculation. The nurse was taken aback, probably not expecting the family's first reaction to be asking about money. The current cost is $230,000, and subsequent treatment may require around $300,000. $230,000? Mom screamed, her voice shrill and piercing. How can it be so much? The patient has multiple fractures throughout her body, a ruptured spleen that was removed in surgery, and intracranial hemorrhage. The nurse explained patiently. Can we do fewer surgeries? Dad frowned, his expression like he was haggling at the market. Don't do anything that's not essential. My heart grew colder inch by inch. Lying in the ICU, full of tubes, with my life hanging in the balance, all they cared about was money. All surgeries are necessary. The nurse's voice turned cold. The patient is in a very dangerous condition right now. That girl is really something, always causing trouble. Mom muttered. Causing trouble? I was almost beaten to death, and in their eyes it was me causing trouble? Tears blurred my vision, flowing down my cheeks and into my ears, icy and piercing. Caleb finally spoke, his voice hoarse. Dad, I'll figure out the money. How will you figure it out? Mom glared at him. You caused this mess yourself, now you regret it? I told you that girl was a troublemaker, but you wouldn't believe me. She's always gloomy, she looks like she'll cause trouble. So in their minds I deserve to be beaten. It's always been like this since I was little. Caleb is the treasure, and I'm a burden. Caleb gets good grades, they show off everywhere. I get good grades, they say. What's the point of a girl studying so much? Caleb gets everything he wants, and when I want something it's always, the family isn't rich. Now that I'm about to die, they're still worried about money. After being transferred to a regular ward, I was finally able to speak. My throat burned painfully, but I still squeezed out 2 words. My first words were, call the police. Caleb was in the ward, and his face changed drastically when he heard this. The apple in his hand fell to the ground with a thud. Sister, what did you say? Call the police. I stared at him, word by word, my voice weak but unusually firm. Intentional injury, I want to call the police. Are you crazy? Mom rushed over, her face distorted. What are you calling the police for? We're all family. Do you want to send your brother to jail? Family? When they were beating me into the ICU, why didn't they think we were family? I laughed, laughing until tears came out. Family? Would family beat me to death? I almost died, I said calmly, looking at their panicked expressions. But you didn't die, Mom said righteously. Besides, if you hadn't bullied Serafina, would your brother have hit you? It takes 2 to tango, you must have been at fault too. I laughed, laughing until tears came out. I didn't even go to school that day. You're still arguing. Caleb suddenly exploded, his veins bulging. Serafina even showed her friend's testimony, saying you blocked her in the bathroom and slapped her. She's such a pure person. How could she lie? Pure. I thought of Serafina's delicate face, thought of the hidden malice in her eyes when she looked at me. Then let her call the police. I looked at him, my tone terrifyingly calm. Let the police check the surveillance footage, and see if I went to school at all. Caleb choked, his fists clenched, crackling. I continued. That day, I was accompanying Grandma at Provincial First Hospital, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. The hospital has surveillance cameras, nurses have records, and Grandma's attending doctor can testify. My name is on the visitation records for the ward, and I even bought dinner for Grandma. The hospital convenience store has a receipt. You can check it out. The room fell silent, so quiet that you could hear the beeping of the heart monitor. Caleb's face changed again and again, from pale to flushed, then to livid. Even if you didn't go to school, it must have been a few days ago. Serafina wouldn't lie. She's so kind, so pure, unlike you, who is so calculating. I closed my eyes, my heart completely dead. He was still defending Serafina to this point. In his mind, Serafina is always right, and I am always wrong. Think whatever you want, I said, my voice very soft. Nurse, please help me call the police. The police arrived quickly. 2 officers, one older and one younger. When they saw me, shock flashed in their eyes. This injury. The young officer gasped. While I was giving my statement, Caleb was pacing anxiously outside, like an ant on a hot pan. Mom and Dad were even more furious, banging on the door non-stop, begging me to drop the charges. Nora, you'll ruin your brother by doing this. He still has to take the postgraduate entrance exam and find a job. What will happen if he has a criminal record? Mom cried her heart out, but I could hear the calculation in her crying. If his future is ruined, our family is finished. Can you bear it? I lay in bed, wrapped in bandages with casts on both arms, making it difficult even to speak. And what they were worried about was Caleb's future. What about my hands? I asked, my voice terrifyingly calm. The doctor said that my hands had comminuted fractures, and even if they healed, it would be difficult to fully recover. I might not even be able to hold chopsticks steadily, let alone write. I am a fine art student. Without my hands, how can I paint? My dreams, my future, are all ruined. Mom hesitated, stammering, Your hands will be fine. Medicine is so advanced now. The doctor said the chances of recovery are less than 30%. I interrupted her, each word like a knife. I may never be able to paint again. I'm a junior about to graduate. I've been learning to paint for 15 years, and now it's all over. Dad became impatient, waving his hand roughly. If you can't paint, you can't paint. Painting isn't the only path. The most important thing for you now is to drop the charges quickly, so your brother doesn't have a criminal record. What's the point of a girl painting? Just find a good family to marry into. I laughed. Laughing until tears came out. Yes, ruining my hands, shattering my dreams, are all unimportant. What is important is Caleb's future. It's always been like this since I was little. All the good things are for Caleb, and I'm only fit to pick up the leftovers. New clothes are for Caleb, and I wear his hand-me-downs. Delicious food is for Caleb, and I eat what he doesn't want. Parents' love is for Caleb, and I only deserve to be ignored. Now I don't even deserve justice. I won't drop the charges, I said, my voice not loud, but firm. You. Dad raised his hand in anger, ready to strike. The police stopped him in time. Please calm down, this is a hospital. If you hit her again, you will be detained. Dad's hand froze in midair. Finally he put it down fiercely. Ungrateful wretch. We raised you for so long, and this is how you repay us. Ungrateful wretch? I laughed. You raised me, but it was with Grandma's money. Besides giving birth to me, what have they ever given me? At night, the ward finally quieted down. The moonlight outside the window shone in, cold as water. I stared at the ceiling in a daze, tears flowing silently. Not because of the pain, but because of the chilling feeling in my heart. Does anyone in this world really care about me? My phone rang. It was a call from the hospital. Miss Lawson? Your grandmother's condition is not good. She may not make it through tonight. She wants to see you. My heart sank sharply, as if it had been clenched hard. Grandma. I struggled to get up, but every part of my body ached. Every movement felt like 1,000 cuts. The nurse came in and saw my condition, quickly pressing me down. You can't move. Your injuries are too severe. Your ribs are broken. Moving might pierce your internal organs. My grandma is dying. I begged her, my voice tearing at my heart. Please let me go see her. She's the only person in this world who loves me. The nurse looked at my bandaged body with concern, a hint of pity in her eyes. You can't move at all like this. Even a small movement could be life-threatening. I closed my eyes in despair. My grandmother wants to see me one last time before she dies, but I can't even do that. And the person who caused all of this is her grandson, whom she has loved since he was a child. If Grandma knew the truth, How heartbroken would she be? Let me help you with a video call. The nurse couldn't bear it. Although you can't go in person, at least you can see each other. She was a kind nurse in her 30s, with fine lines around her eyes, looking gentle and kind. When the video connected, I saw my grandmother in bed. She was nothing but skin and bones, but her eyes were still searching for something. An oxygen mask covered her face, her chest rising and falling weakly. "Grandma," I said, choking back tears. Grandma's eyes lit up, her lips trembled as she tried to say something. The caregiver next to her brought the phone closer. "Nora." Grandma's voice was as weak as a candle flame in the wind, about to go out at any moment. "Grandma, I'm here." I tried my best to hold back my tears, trying to give her a smile. What's wrong?" Grandma seemed to see something wrong with me, and worry flashed in her cloudy eyes. My face was swollen and deformed, and there were blood scabs on the corners of my mouth. There was no way I could hide it from her. I forced a smile. "It's nothing, I just have a cold. The doctor told me to get in for." Grandma stared at me for a long time, tears suddenly streaming down her face. Was it Caleb? Right. I was stunned. "How did Grandma know?" She continued, each word very difficult. "I know everything. He's been blinded by that vixen." "Nora, promise Grandma." "Leave them." "Grandma." I sobbed. "Promise me." Grandma used her last bit of strength, her fingers trembling. You deserve better. Don't be trapped in that house. They don't deserve you. None of them deserve you." I nodded, sobbing. "I promise you, Grandma, I promise you." Good child." Grandma smiled, a smile of relief. "Grandma will be waiting below. For your parents. To give me an explanation." She slowly closed her eyes. The video ended. 5 minutes later, I received a message. Grandma passed away. There wasn't a single relative by her side when she left. I cried loudly, crying heart-wrenchingly, crying until the nurse's eyes turned red. "Grandma, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't see you one last time. I'm sorry for letting you leave with regrets. I'm sorry. I couldn't go to Grandma's funeral because I was still lying in the hospital bed. Every movement was excruciatingly painful. The doctor said I had to lie down for at least a month before I could barely get out of bed. Caleb came once, standing at the door of the ward, afraid to come in. He had lost a lot of weight. His eyes were sunken, as if he hadn't slept for days. He probably came to test if I would drop the case. But when he saw my hands in casts, saw my body full of tubes, saw my swollen and deformed face, his face turned pale. "Nora," he murmured, his voice trembling. I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. I didn't want to see him, not even for a glance. "I know you're awake," he said, his voice choked up. "Grandma is gone, she passed away peacefully." My tears instantly burst. Grandma didn't have any relatives by her side until the very end. And now he has the nerve to say that Grandma passed away peacefully. I stared at him intently. He stood at the door for a long time and finally left. Before leaving, he said, "I'm sorry." 3 words, light as a feather. The next day, Serafina came. She was wearing a white dress, as pure as a white lotus flower. Her long hair was loose, her makeup was exquisite, and she was so beautiful that I was ashamed of myself. But I knew that this white lotus flower was poisonous. "Nora." She stood by the bed, looking down at me condescendingly, her eyes full of undisguised triumph. I opened my eyes and looked at her calmly. Her face had no scars, it was as smooth as ever. The so-called swollen face I had beaten was just makeup. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice hoarse. Serafina smiled, the smile beautiful but malicious. "I came to see you. I heard you were badly injured. I'm very worried." "Worried I didn't die thoroughly enough?" The smile on her face froze for a moment, then returned to normal. "What are you talking about? Is there some misunderstanding between us?" "Surveillance," I said, each word clear. "The surveillance in the school's bathroom, the surveillance of that day, the police have already gone to retrieve it." Serafina's face changed. She probably didn't expect that I would really call the police. I continued. "The hospital's surveillance has also been retrieved, proving that I was with my grandma from morning to night that day." The nurse station's records showed that I even helped my grandmother get food at noon and changed her medicine in the afternoon. How long do you think your lie can last? Serafina bit her lip. Her pitiful look disappeared instantly, replaced by malice. Even if you didn't hit me that day, it doesn't mean you didn't before. Caleb is right, you're just jealous of me. Jealous that I'm prettier than you. Jealous that I'm better than you. Jealous that I can get Caleb's love. I laughed. Jealous of what? Jealous that you have a face that knows how to pretend to be pitiful? Or jealous that you're especially good at seducing other people's brothers? Serafina, you know what? No matter how pretty you are, you're just a slut, a bitch, less than trash in my eyes. Serafina was so angry that her face turned white. She glared at me fiercely, her delicate features twisted with anger. Nora, do you think you've won? Even if the truth comes out, so what? Caleb will still only believe me. Because in his heart, I'm 1,000,000 times more important than you. These words stabbed into my heart like knives. Yes, she was right. Even if the truth came out, Caleb would only make excuses for her. Just like now, even knowing I was in the hospital that day, he still said, "It must have been a few days ago." In his heart, Serafina was always right, and I was always wrong. So, I looked at her, my tone calm. You came all the way here just to tell me this? Serafina smiled smugly. I'm here to tell you, don't waste your effort. Even if you get a medical examination, even if you call the police, Caleb won't be in trouble. Because I'll help him. She leaned closer to me, her breath spraying on my face, carrying the scent of perfume. I'll tell everyone that you attacked me first, and Caleb was just protecting me. My dad knows a lot of people, lawyers, judges, even prosecutors. Do you think a little girl with no background can fight us? Do you think the police will believe you, the aggressor, or me, the victim? I stared at her steadily. At that moment, I finally understood why she told this lie. She wasn't really bullied by me. She just wanted to see how important she was in Caleb's heart. As it turned out, she bet right. So important that Caleb could beat his own sister into the ICU without distinguishing right from wrong. Serafina. I called her name, my voice very soft. Do you really love my brother? She paused for a moment, then smiled even more triumphantly. Of course I love him, or why would I go to so much trouble? I love him to death. I wish I could be with him every second. Love him so much that you'll make him a murderer? Serafina's smile froze on her face. I continued. Do you know what the doctor said? 10 more minutes, and I would have died. If I had really died, Caleb would be a murderer. Intentional homicide, at least life imprisonment, very likely the death penalty. Is your so-called love meant to ruin him? Serafina's face was ashen, her lips trembling. I didn't think it would be so serious. I just wanted to test it, to see how important I am in his heart. 7 ribs, comminuted fractures, ruptured spleen. I listed them off one by one, and her face turned paler with each one I mentioned. You don't think that's serious? She took a step back, her eyes darting around. That's because Caleb hit too hard. I didn't tell him to really hit you, who knew he would be so ruthless. Yes, because he cares about you too much. I laughed, laughing until tears came out. He cares so much that he lost his mind. He cares so much that he doesn't recognize his own family. Congratulations, Serafina, you succeeded. You succeeded in turning him into a monster. Serafina's face was getting uglier and uglier, like a blank sheet of paper. She probably never thought that her one lie would cause such serious consequences. Or maybe she did, but she didn't care. Anyway, it wasn't her who got hurt. I'm warning you. She tried to maintain her momentum, but her voice was already shaking. You better drop the charges, or else. Or else what? I interrupted her, holding up my arm in a cast. Have Caleb beat me up again? Come on, might as well beat me to death this time, so I won't be an eyesore. Anyway, in his eyes, everything you say is right. You say I hit you, then I hit you. You say I deserve to die, then I deserve to die. Serafina was frightened by my gaze. It was a gaze that no longer cared about life or death. She hurriedly dropped a sentence. You better take care of yourself, and fled the ward as if escaping. I closed my eyes, tears streaming down again. Not because of grievance, but because of sorrow. Caleb, oh Caleb, look what kind of thing you love. The police investigation results came out quickly. The school's surveillance showed that I was indeed not at school on the day of the incident. Moreover, I had not had any contact with Serafina for the previous week. Hospital surveillance and medical records also proved that I had been taking care of my grandmother from 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening. The nurse station's records showed that I even helped my grandmother get food at noon and change her medicine in the afternoon. Serafina's so-called being slapped by me was completely fabricated. Caleb was also there when the police came to the ward to take a supplementary statement. He stood at the door, his face as pale as paper, his whole body tottering. Mr. Lawson, according to the investigation, your sister was indeed not at school that day. The police said officially, their voice cold. And she had no contact with Ms. Sterling for the previous week. You are suspected of intentional injury, causing serious injury to others. Please come with us. Caleb's legs went weak, and he leaned against the doorframe to avoid falling. He looked at me, his eyes complex with shock, regret, and pleading. Nora. I was wrong, I was really wrong. I turned my head away, not wanting to look at him. Wrong. Can saying I was wrong erase everything? My hand is ruined, my dream is destroyed, my grandmother left with regret. Can a single I was wrong make up for it? Caleb. Mom rushed over, grabbing Caleb tightly to prevent him from leaving, and then threw herself in front of my bed. Nora, please drop the charges. He's your own brother. Blood is thicker than water. Do you really want to watch him go to jail? Own brother? Blood is thicker than water? I almost laughed. Would an own brother beat me into the ICU without asking why? Is this what family, where blood is thicker than water, looks like? Mom. I looked at her, my voice very soft. When have you ever pleaded for me? She was stunned, her mouth opened and closed, unable to speak. Yes, from childhood to adulthood, she only pleaded for Caleb. When I was sick, she said, just bear with it. Then turned around and bought supplements for Caleb. When I was bullied, she said, you must have done something wrong. Then comforted Caleb not to be angry. When I got first place, she said, don't be proud, your brother just wasn't serious. Then hired a tutor for Caleb. Now that I was almost beaten to death, she was still pleading for Caleb. I won't drop the charges. I said, this is my final decision. The law will give me justice. Caleb was taken away. Before leaving, he turned his head and looked at me, his eyes full of regret. But it was too late. My parents also went to the police station, probably trying to find connections to get him out. The ward was finally quiet, but I didn't feel relieved at all. There was still 100,000 yuan missing for the surgery fees, and my parents definitely wouldn't pay for it anymore. Whether my hand can recover is completely unknown. I have 1 year left to graduate from college, but I may never be able to paint again. The future is like a fog, with no hope in sight. The phone rang, it was an unknown number. Hello, is this Nora? The other party's voice was gentle and polite. I'm Mr. Morgan from Junhua Law Firm. A lawyer? I was stunned for a moment. What can I do for you? It's like this, your grandmother entrusted our firm to handle her will before she passed away. Mr. Morgan said, his voice carrying respect. She has a property and some savings in her name, all left to you. I was so shocked that I couldn't speak. Wasn't my grandmother's house always said to be left to Caleb? Everyone in the family thought so, and Caleb himself took it for granted that the house was his. Mr. Morgan seemed to have guessed my doubts. The old lady changed her will a month ago. She said that the person she was most worried about was you. She said that you are a good child, but this family is too unfair to you. She wanted to leave you a way out. Tears instantly breached. So Grandma knew all along. She was planning for me all along. She knew this family didn't want me, knew my situation in this family. So she hid it from everyone and changed her will. The property is worth approximately 3 million, and there are 500,000 in savings, Mr. Morgan continued. If you agree, we can process the transfer as soon as possible. 3.5 million. Enough for me to get treatment. Enough for me to start over. Grandma, are you watching over me from heaven? Caleb was detained. Intentional assault causing serious injury carries a sentence of 3 to 10 years. My parents sought out every connection they could, even sold the car, and hired the most expensive lawyer, but it was no use. Because my injuries were too severe, the forensic results were there, irrefutable evidence. Moreover, Caleb was the ringleader, and the circumstances were egregious. Serafina came to see me once. This time, she lacked her previous arrogance and was instead tearful and crying, her makeup ruined. Nora, I was wrong, I was really wrong. Please drop the charges. Caleb can't go to jail, his life will be ruined. It's all my fault, I shouldn't have lied, I'll kneel for you. She really knelt down, kneeling in front of my hospital bed, tears and snot streaming down her face. I watched her coldly. And my life won't be ruined? She bit her lip and took out a card from her bag. I can compensate you, here's $1 million, anything you want. My dad is very rich, I'll give you whatever you want. Can you afford it? I raised my arm in a cast. Can you afford this hand? I studied painting for 15 years. All my dreams are in this hand. Now it's ruined. What will you use to compensate me? Serafina cried even harder. I'm sorry, really sorry. I didn't know it would turn out like this. I just wanted to test how much Caleb cared about me. I never thought he would really hit you. You knew. I interrupted her. You knew clearly how much Caleb cared about you. Knew he would do anything for you. You just relied on that care recklessly. She couldn't speak, just kept crying and kowtowing. Her forehead was bleeding from the kowtowing, looking miserable. But I didn't feel sorry for her at all. I was tired, I closed my eyes. Get out, I don't want to see you. Serafina wanted to say something, but the nurse asked her to leave. Before leaving, she looked back at me. Nora, are you really going to be so heartless? I know I was wrong. I'm willing to clarify everything to everyone face to face, willing to apologize to you, willing to compensate you. Heartless? I laughed. When I was beaten into the ICU, why didn't anyone say they were heartless? On the day of the trial, I went to court in a wheelchair. The courtroom was solemn and dignified. The gallery was full of people. Caleb had lost a lot of weight. His eyes were sunken, his beard was scruffy, nowhere near his past spirited appearance. When he saw me, his eyes immediately turned red. My parents were sitting in the gallery. My mother kept wiping away tears, and my father's face was ashen. When the judge read out the indictment, every word stabbed into Caleb's heart like a knife. The defendant, Caleb Lawson, because he believed the lies of others, colluded with others to violently beat the victim, Nora Lawson, causing the victim Nora Lawson to suffer 7 fractured ribs, comminuted fractures of both hands, and a ruptured spleen, constituting serious injury, level 2. The defendant's actions were heinous, the means were cruel, and the consequences were severe. Caleb lowered his head, his shoulders trembling non-stop. When it was his turn to speak, he choked up and said, I plead guilty. I'm sorry to my sister. I was blinded by anger and did something unforgivable. But I want to explain that I really didn't mean to beat her like this. I just cared too much about Serafina. I thought Serafina was really being bullied. I wanted to protect her. Cared too much. These 3 words were like a slap in the face, hitting me hard. Yes, cared too much about Serafina, so he could act without discrimination. Cared too much about Serafina, so he could deal a deadly blow to his own sister. I am willing to accept the punishment of the law, Caleb continued, his voice choked with sobs. I only beg my sister to forgive me. I know I don't deserve to ask for forgiveness, but I really know I was wrong. The judge looked at me. Victim, do you have anything to say? I sat up straight and said, word by word, I do not accept the apology, nor will I forgive him. Please sentence him according to the law. Caleb's tears instantly breached. In the end, Caleb was sentenced to life imprisonment. When the sentence was announced, my mother fainted on the spot. My father rushed in front of me, raised his hand to hit me, and was stopped by the bailiffs. You ungrateful wretch, he roared, his face distorted. You won't even spare your own brother. Are you even human? You've ruined our whole family. Ruined Caleb's future. Are you satisfied now? I looked at him calmly. Was your son human when he beat me into the ICU? He ruined my hands, ruined my dreams. Did you even care? My father was choked speechless. He could only glare at me viciously. As Caleb was being led away, he He looked back at me. In that look, there was regret, there was pain, there was pleading, and there was despair. But it was too late. Broken bones can be mended, but broken hearts cannot. From the moment he swung the first club, we were no longer siblings. Serafina didn't come. I heard that after Caleb was arrested, she transferred to a school in another province. Before leaving, she wrote a letter to Caleb, saying that she was still young and couldn't be held back by someone with a criminal record. How ironic. The person who claimed to love Caleb ran faster than anyone else. And Caleb, for her, ruined everything. Ruined his future, ruined his family, ruined his only sister. I sold Grandma's house and took the money to the best orthopedic hospital. I had surgery 4 times, each time like walking through hell. The pain after the anesthesia wore off made me wish I could die. Rehabilitation training was even more painful, starting with the simplest fist clench. Every movement had to be relearned. When I held a pen, my hand shook like a sieve. When I wrote, the letters were crooked like a child's. Painting was even more of a luxury. I couldn't even draw a straight line. The doctor said I was lucky, that I was recovering better than expected. But it was just better than expected. My right hand regained 70% of its function, and my left hand only 50%. For an art student, this was almost a death sentence. But I didn't give up. Since I couldn't paint, I would study design. Using a computer to create art didn't require as much of the hands. I gritted my teeth and started over, learning the most basic software. I practiced for more than 10 hours every day. My eyes were bloodshot. I went to school during the day, worked part-time at night, saved money bit by bit, and improved bit by bit. My parents severed ties with me. In their eyes, I was the sinner who caused Caleb to go to jail. They went around telling people that I was an ungrateful wretch, that I repaid kindness with hatred. I didn't care. I moved out of the house and rented a small studio apartment near the school. The room was small, only 10 square meters, but it was mine. Although it was difficult, I felt freedom for the first time. No one favored anyone, no one ignored anyone, and no one treated me like a burden. I was just myself. The year I graduated, I received an offer from a well-known design company. The HR person looked at my portfolio and said in surprise, "Your design is very inspired, and it shows a deep foundation in fine arts." I smiled and nodded. I originally studied fine arts but later changed careers. I didn't say the reason. Let those pains rot in the past. In my 3rd year of work, I was promoted to design director. I also saved enough for a down payment and bought a small apartment on the other side of the city. Although it wasn't big, I truly had my own home. When decorating, I specially left a wall. I hung Grandma's photo on it. The photo was taken on Grandma's 60th birthday, and she was smiling kindly. "Grandma, I did it," I said to the photo. "I left them and lived my own life. Don't worry, I'm doing well." Grandma in the photo smiled kindly, as if saying, "I knew it, my Nora is the best." I heard about Caleb's release from prison from a former high school classmate. I heard that he has been looking for you since he came out, wanting to apologize in person. He is now working as a salesman in a small company and looks quite down and out. I didn't respond. Some hurts cannot be erased with just an apology. I have already moved forward and don't want to look back. Until one day, I met him downstairs at the company. It turned out that my parents used all kinds of operations to get him a reduced sentence. So much so that he could actually come out. Years of prison life have made him much older. The once high-spirited straight-A student brother is now decadent like a middle-aged man. Thinning hair, dim eyes, wearing a cheap suit. "Nora," he called me, his voice hoarse. I stopped and looked at him calmly. "What's the matter?" He choked, his eyes instantly turned red. "I'm sorry." Then with a thud he knelt down. In the crowd of people coming and going, he knelt in front of me like this. "I'm sorry, Nora, I was wrong. I was blinded by lard, I deserve to die. I'm a bastard." As he spoke, he slapped himself, the loud slaps attracting the attention of passers-by. "I ruined you and ruined myself. These 4 years, I have been regretting it every day, thinking about what if I hadn't hit you that day." Grandma must have been very disappointed when she passed away. Her most beloved grandson beat her most beloved granddaughter into the ICU. He cried heartbrokenly, like a child. I stood there, But my heart was calm. For years ago, this scene might have softened my heart. But now it's too late. Get up, I said. You're making a fool of yourself. I won't, he cried heartbrokenly. Unless you forgive me. I sighed. Caleb, do you know? It took me 4 years to learn how to eat, write, and work with an injured hand. You kneel once, and you think you can erase it? Caleb was stunned, tears still hanging on his face. I continued, during the years you were in prison, I had 16 surgeries, each one was painful beyond words. During rehabilitation, I was in so much pain that I wanted to die. But I couldn't die, because I promised Grandma that I would live well. Do you know what Grandma told me before she died? Caleb shook his head, his eyes terrified. She told me to leave you, to leave that house. I smiled, a smile without warmth. She saw through it long ago. In your hearts, I am nothing. No, Caleb retorted anxiously, shaking his head desperately. You are my sister, my most important sister. The most important? I smiled. The most important sister, can't compare to a woman's lies? The most important sister, worthy of you hitting so hard. He was speechless and could only keep crying. Please, Nora, he was still begging, his knees hurting from grinding on the ground. Give me a chance to atone, let me take care of you, let me compensate you. I don't need it, I interrupted him. I'm doing very well now, I don't need anyone's care, let alone your compensation. Your life is already ruined, don't come and ruin mine. Caleb, we are no longer siblings. From the moment you swung the first stick, we were strangers. After saying that, I walked into the company building without looking back. Behind me came Caleb's heartbroken cry. I didn't look back. Some roads, once taken wrong, can never be returned. Just like my hand, like Grandma, like that once complete home. They can't go back. The moment the elevator door closed, I saw myself in the mirror. 26-year-old Nora Lawson, wearing a decent professional suit, with exquisite makeup. The scars on my hand have faded, but you can still see the traces. I am no longer the little girl who was bullied. I learned to protect myself, learned to live for myself. Grandma, can you see? I finally lived the way I wanted to. Later I heard that Caleb retaliated against Serafina. The scene was very tragic. Both of them died. I laughed. Serves them right.